nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the War Room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back. Once again, I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the windy high desert of southern Idaho. And joining me today is Mr. Tiger. You're kind of like almost a regular on the show anymore.
Almost. It's getting close. Like, you know, it's been once a month the last couple months at least.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. It's nice. I love chatting with you. And usually we catch you, well, a couple times we've caught you when you're in the middle of a trip. And I know we'll get to where you've been here in just a minute, but you're in the middle of the mountains of Tennessee right now? Is that where you said you were?
I am still in North Carolina right now. I'm passing through North Carolina. So
I love that place.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love this place. Right
in the middle of the Smoky Mountains is where me and my wife went and visited a few years ago, and that place is just phenomenal. I think about it every other day. It's like I want to go back to that little cabin deep in the forest. It's just
right. Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's funny because as you drive down the interstate, like you'll see this random like house perched on top of a mountain.
Oh yeah,
and you're like, man, that's got to be a good view.
Oh man! So when and I don't know, maybe I've told this story before. I don't know. It's kind of a funny deal that we showed up. We got this Airbnb cabin way out in the middle of the woods, and we flew into like Atlanta, into Georgia, and then we drove over to North Carolina. And time we got to where we were going, it was like 1:00 in the morning, right? So I'm in this little rental car, and we're trying to find. We're trying to find like Google Maps or whatever. We got this direction. Our GPS is going, and we came up on this place, and all of a sudden the road turns from pavement to like gravel, and then it's like a 2-track, and I'm like, good God, this is how people die.
Yeah, right.
It's 1:00 in the morning. I'm somewhere in the backwoods, North Carolina, in the Smoky Mountains. No one's gonna hear from me again. We found some like little houses, some little cabins, and my wife's like, they never look like the picture that you see online. And it's
no, never.
It's dark, and she's like, no, just keep going down this road. And so I keep going down the road, and the road is getting narrower and narrower, and it had been raining, and next thing you know, the trees are scraping against the side. I was like, man, we're gonna get killed. And then we finally found our little what we thought was our little cabin, and she's like, well, go see if the door's open. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go try to open someone's door at 1:00 in the morning. People answer the doors with a shotgun around here.
That's right. That's right.
But we eventually found it. But that's the one memory I'll have in North Carolina was we were out there in the middle of nowhere, 1:00 in the morning, and she's wanting me to go knock on doors. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I should be doing. I sent her instead.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. I'll cover you, babe.
There you go. But hey, since I got you on the line, I wanted to ask you, and it's something I talked about on the podcast I don't know, was it last? I think maybe it was last episode. I don't remember, but Springfield Armory just announced their new Hellcat Pro pistol. Have you got to take a chance to take a look at that yet?
I shot one today.
What did you think of the Pro?
It was nice enough. It's nicer than the regular. That there's a little bit extra grip. It shot well. The trigger was fine. I don't know that it's the best in its class or anything like that.
Right.
It's if you're looking for a decent little pistol and you find one on sale, it's probably worth a look.
Because I know the first Hellcat I hated.
I didn't like the first Hellcat either. Like, I was not a fan.
Yeah, they came out with the next one. I don't know if it's called the RDR or I don't know what it was called, but the second one had that little compensator on it, so the trigger was improved, and the little compensator actually helped a bunch for that little
sure.
gun. And then so this one came out, and they're advertising it as kind of like almost like about the same size as like a G19. And
yeah, it is. It is. It's a little bit bigger. I would put it between like a 365 and a G19.
Okay, so kind of like an XL then.
Yeah, kind of like an XL. Yeah, that's actually exactly the size that it is.
So how do you think it compares to, like, have you shot an XL?
I have, and I wouldn't say it's equal necessarily, but it's also not less than somehow. Like it's just different, right? Like it's a Springfield to a SIG. If you like Springfield, you're going to like the Hellcat Pro better. If you like SIGs, you're going to like the 365 XL better. Like that's just, if you like Glocks, you're going to like the 48X or whatever that size is, right? Like, it's, they're all kind of right there in the same price range. They're all going to do what you want them to do. The limitations are based off of that size of pistol. Like, that none of those pistols are going to shoot as well as a Glock 17 or a P320 or the XD or, the next size up. Like,
right.
So, but yeah, it shot well. It was comfortable to hold, and it was a marked improvement over the original Hellcat.
Right.
Like I would not be concerned about carrying the Hellcat Pro.
Okay, so the trigger it wasn't perfect, but it was okay. It was better than the original.
Better than the original, and it worked. Now you're talking to a guy who shoots a lot of Glocks, so
sure,
it was better than a Glock trigger.
Well, there you go.
So there's that. Like, but yeah, it was a cool little gun, and I also shot today the compensated version of the 365, and that was pretty cool.
They have one. They have one of those.
Yeah, the Pro Spectre Comp or whatever.
Oh, I've never seen that yet.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool little gun. It was a pretty cool little gun.
So what does it compare to the XL with a comp, just the regular with a comp, or size wise?
It's the regular one. It's the regular one with a comp.
And does it have the better trigger in it?
Yep.
Ooh.
But my buddy, my best friend, he carries a 365,
right?
And he's like, I may have to upgrade after shooting that, because that comp tamed the snappiness of those little pistols a lot. Like it really brought it down.
And so you said it was like the regular. Is that what you just said? So how much longer does that make it? So what's the length like now? Is it compared to like the X or the XL?
It's kind of, I think it's more like the X. It adds about a half-ish inch, like 3/8 of an inch of length. It's not an overly large compensator.
Okay. Because I guess the reason why I ask is my question would be like, why would you get that one? What would be the difference between that one and the XL if they're almost the same size?
It keeps it in the same size bracket as that X to XL.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
So you're keeping it in that same footprint, but instead of having that half inch of barrel length or whatever, you have a half inch of compensator.
So that's okay. So I've been discussing this for a couple months now, right? Where are the firearms going next? If you're on Facebook, I know you're on and off there a little bit, but I know you see me, maybe post some stuff. Where's the market going? What size? So now we've got the Hellcat came out with the smaller gun with the compensator, and now we got SIG, whichever one came out first. I don't know which one with the comp. And then you got SIG coming out with the 365 with a comp. Is that where everyone's going now? Let's, instead of getting a larger gun, let's keep a small one and put just a little compensator on it to make it a little bit shorter, that take up some of that recoil. You think that's where it's headed now?
I do, actually. I think that and of course, we've been moving towards optics ready for a while, but I think that I think that that's the next big wave is going to be a small single stack or double stack. It might, but that smaller size, optics ready with a comp, and a little rail that you can snap a light on, because that's all the modifications that people were making before, right?
Right.
Like you'd buy the pistol and then you'd go buy the threaded barrel so you could put the comp on it and buy the red dot to put on it and then throw a light on it. And now companies are going, okay, we'll just do all of that for you. We will just.
Yeah, but let's face it. They're going to have the base model, then they're going to have the one with the improved trigger, and then they're all of a sudden going to have the larger one, and then they're going to come out with, we got model number 4, which has all this stuff on it.
Right. Yeah, and has the tungsten infused grip to make it whatever. And,
right.
or the built-in light instead of having the rail to add your own light. Yeah, it's all coming, but I think compensators from the factory is a wave of the future style thing.
So let me back this up here, because you just said something that maybe I'm just out of the loop, which I live way out here, so I could be way out of the loop. So a gun that comes with a light built in, do they have those? Yep. Is that where they're going as a handgun, do you think, with a built-in light?
They don't have them yet, but I can foresee it coming.
That's something I'd never considered before.
Because, at this point, our lights are getting, you can get a TLR1 that's a pretty small footprint, to hang underneath like a Glock. And I could just see Glock going, well, why don't we just put the light there?
Yes.
Take the rail off and put the light there.
Oh, wow. That's that's kind of a game changer, really.
Right. Because then, everybody always says, hey, your defensive pistol should have a light on it. Well, there you go. Just buy it, right?
Just buy it. And then, people are changing out, well, depending on how they do it. People are having to change out batteries a little bit every now and then for like these optics, right? Unless they're solar powered, that kind of thing. But So you just do that. I wonder if they'll come out with a version that's got an internal battery like the new Holosun. Maybe they have like little solar panels on it.
I'm sure they will. Like instead of having a lightning cut on the top of the slide, a little solar panel built in to charge the battery would be easy.
That is fascinating, because as much as I talk to people about what's next, you kind of watch the trends. That had never crossed my mind, and maybe I'm just out of it. But that's wow. I could see that. I could see that definitely. Now I'm intrigued. And it looks like we may have lost Tiger. So I'll just go ahead and talk. But can you imagine that? Can you imagine a handgun, a defensive handgun, a small one with a built-in light? That's absolutely fascinating to me. How slick would that be? It'd make, depending on where they put it, they probably put it right there where the rail is, but they'd actually have to modify or come up with like a custom type of holster for that, maybe, because it'd be a little bit fatter. But that's an absolute fascinating idea. So maybe there you go. Hopefully Tiger will call back. It'll ring. We can get him back here on the line in just a second and get this all figured out. I'm sure he'll call back as soon as he gets reception here. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the time while we wait for him. Funny thing, I had a permit class actually this weekend, and I saw something. It wasn't funny that I had a permit class. I have one every month, but I saw something that I've never seen before. I had a gentleman in there. He was shooting a really like an old SIG, all metal, like German gun, from Germany. It was an old SIG, right? And it shot pretty well. Okay, well, I lost Tiger once again, but we'll just go ahead and keep going. So, like I was talking, though, this gentleman had these magazines, and they were so old and they were so wore out, I could actually shake the magazine, and the follower would jump back and forth. It was the craziest thing that I've ever seen. The follower just bounced back and forth. They were so wore out, they were so loose. So we gave him a different gun to try and kind of got him headed in the right direction. It was a beautiful class, beautiful weather. It was 60 plus degrees. It was a little overcast. A great day for a class. But let me look here. I had Tiger all lined up, so I didn't kind of plan a whole lot of extra in the show. So there was, and I don't have the name in front of me now. I just don't. But there was a anti-gun senator out of the state of California this week. This was on the NRA, ILA website. He got caught. He was going to the airport. He's anti-gun, and he got caught with a firearm in his bag, a gun in his bag when he went through TSA. So you and me, mind you, we would have got we can get up to 6 months in prison. We can get $2,000 or $3,000 fine for this. Mr. Anti-Gun Senator, this is what they did for him. He didn't even get a slap on the wrist. They held his gun for him till he got back from his trip, and then he was able to retrieve it and go home. So there you go. When you got these anti-gun senators, these anti-gun people, they're not worried about It's not that they're anti-firearms or anti-guns. They're anti-guns for you. They're not anti-guns for themselves. I mean, they're pro-gun when it comes to themselves and their security, right? It's an elitist mentality, and you get that in a lot of these states where you have these anti-gun, government officials and senators and stuff like that. They don't want you to have firearms because you can defend. You can defend when it comes to some kind of tyrannical government uprising. They want to control you. They want to do what they want to do to you without you fighting back. So there you go. The anti-gun senator gets caught with a gun, and he's trying to take it through the airport because he thinks he's better than you. There we go. So tell us where you've been, Tiger. I know you've been traveling, and you mentioned earlier you gotta shoot a gun today, and so you've just been off hanging out with your buddies, or where have you been?
Well, I actually went to a event called The Gathering in South Carolina at Clinton House Plantation in South Carolina. If you haven't ever been to that range, I highly recommend it.
It sounds like the Magic The Gathering. That wasn't it, was it?
No, that wasn't it. Well, there was a lot of magic that happened, though.
Okay, good.
Like yesterday morning, me and my buddy got there. People were still setting up. We go up to the ranges. We decided to hit the demo bays before we went to the vendor village type deal. And, we go to the CMMG bay. And the first thing he does is he looks at me and he says, "Here." And he hands me a CMMG MK47, which is their hybrid AR, AK thing.
Right.
And he's like, here's 25 rounds. Flip her over to full auto and go nuts. So I was like, all right,
man.
Rock and roll at 9:30 in the morning, right?
That's better than coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, it was, and the whole day kind of stayed at that level from there. And then went back today and saw some other stuff, saw a few things I didn't get to see yesterday, and it was a good couple of days for sure.
So it's like a big trade show then?
Yeah, and I use the term big. It had about 1,000 people, but there were 30 or 40 vendors there. Like it was a sizable show, but it wasn't like SHOT Show or NRA. Like
gotcha.
Don't get like a certain size in mind and get wrapped up in that,
Right.
But it was there was some big names there, IWI, Springfield, SIG, Glock, CMMG, Leadstar, PSA, Hyperfire. There were a lot of good sized companies there.
So what was the one thing that you saw that stood out to you the most? Because we got to get the inside scoop.
Okay, so that's a tough question because I'm a weird guy. And I've wanted one of these for a while. We've probably even talked about it on the show, but I finally got to shoot the Henry X Series 4570, and it had a dead air primal can on it. And that was so much fun. Like that, it was just like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, like it was real dumb how quiet that thing was. But probably, I don't know if there was a lot of cool stuff. I got to shoot the Hellion from Springfield, their bullpup rifle.
Right.
And it was cool. It's a cool gun. I like bullpups, so it was fun. I got to shoot actually something that really did impress me was Springfield had their new bolt gun, the Waypoint. There, it's got a carbon fiber barrel, and that thing was really nice. It was really nice. It's a 6-pound hunting rifle. Don't expect to go win PRS matches with it or anything, but
right.
It was very nice. Like I said, IWI was there, got to shoot some of their stuff. Of course, Leadstar Arms was there. They are the kind of premier ultralight AR. If you're looking for an ultralight AR, look up Leadstar Arms Helium. It weighs like 3 pounds or some crazy shit. I don't know. It's ridiculous how light it is. And then H&R was there. They're coming back. They're building like classic AR pattern rifles, like M16 A1s and M16 A2s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So PSA kind of owns all of them, or the parent company of PSA, whoever it is, they bought out H&R, they bought out PSA, they bought out Leadstar. So they kind of have all of them as different divisions of the same company. And they're doing some pretty cool stuff. And then, Taurus and Rossi and Heritage are all owned by the same company, and they had a booth, and I had some fun with some of their little 22s. And, it was a good couple of days. It was a good couple of days.
Taurus TX22 for the win.
Yes.
I love that gun. I've got one, and I don't know if I mentioned it more than once, but I got one I bought brand new like 3 years ago, and I'm just like running it because, 22 semi-autos, I've talked about this before, they always have problems. Like, freaking issue after issue after issue, right? They're finicky, they don't run. I've got one I bought brand new. I've been running it for 3 years, and I have not cleaned it, and it gets used in every single class.
Yeah. Right.
And it just runs. It's like no issues, no problems whatsoever. And that gun is so dirty that when I do go to clean it, I'm just going to have to like put it in a tub and soak it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's, I shot one of those, I've shot several of them, but they were providing ammo. So I shot it again.
Sure.
Rock Island Armory had a couple of cool stuff, a couple of cool things. They actually had, the STK 100, which is their newest pistol, and it's their first ever striker fired pistol.
Oh, wow.
It was cool. Shot the PSA 5.7. They're releasing a 5.7. Shot that. It was pretty neat, pretty nice. It was a 5.7 pistol.
Sure.
Handled both the FN and the Springfield high powers. And the Springfield high power is a nice enough pistol. Like it's a relatively genuine or like faithful reproduction of a high power, right?
Right.
If I hadn't held it side by side with the FN, I would have said it was a very nice pistol. But side by side with the FN, it really just didn't stack up. But there's $700 in difference in price.
Well, it's kind of like it's kind of like the the FN 5.7 and the Ruger 5.7, right? I mean, the nicer guns probably FN, but the entry level price that Ruger's going to throw out there, they're going to sell those all day long.
Right, exactly. But that FN, I picked it up off of the table, and went 5 for 5 on a plate. Like a 12 by 20 silhouette at 50 yards with it.
Oh, nice.
Like it's a tack driver. It's super comfortable. The trigger is light and crisp, and it's a really nice high power, right? Like it was John Moses Browning for the win again, right? Like,
right.
So, but like you said, it's a $1,300 gun. What are you going to do with it? Like,
oh yeah, no, I get it. I get it for sure. Well, so so you had a great weekend there, but you're also been pretty busy lately because unless people just don't listen to the show, because we talk about this 2 or 3 times a year we have you on here, but you're also the RD. I'm going to call it RD. Is that what you are? The RD? Match director. I'm sorry. I'm thinking my races. So I'd be race director, match director. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Match director.
For the zombie.
That's another reason that I came to this event. So here's how match directing works for zombie, right?
Okay.
I spend probably 600 to 800 hours a year working on zombie.
No, you don't. 2 hours and it's over, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what a lot of people think, believe it or not. But, I spend probably 100 hours the week of building and running the event. I spend probably 60 to 80 hours before that working out stages and stage design and all of that, right?
Right.
And then there's a couple hundred hours, logistics and admin stuff and this and that and the other. I probably spend 300 to 400 hours of the 600 to 800 getting sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
And this event I've got a stack of business cards with real people's names and phone numbers.
Oh,
not
cool.
front office names and phone numbers, real people. I will get probably 6 sponsors from this weekend that I would not have had beforehand.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, and that's part of the reason I come to these industry events like this, is because it gets my face out there, it gets Zombie's name out there. It's like
You're networking.
I'm networking, right? And face-to-face networking is for all of social media's power. Face-to-face networking is still king.
No, it is. When are you going to come down here and network with me?
Well, tell you what, you come see me first, since I'm the one running the match.
Hey! I was planning on that. I think it was it last year?
Yeah, I know.
Someone took a break, man.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. But yeah, so yeah, I am, like you said, I'm the MD. It's funny because I've just last night on the Run and Gun group, the Run and Gun discussion page on Facebook, a buddy of mine posted asking about whether or not his rifle would be capable of running one of my stages, my long range stage. Everyone focuses on my long range stage because I probably have the longest shot of any run and gun in the country, right?
Right.
And this year we're going out to 900 yards. I've got a plate. I'm going to stick out at 900 yards, and you either hit it or you don't.
Yeah.
And he got some good feedback, but it's really funny because I'm already getting people. On that comment thread, one guy said that he had completely changed his gear setup because of my match. Like, he'd gotten away from 223 and into 6.5 Grendel because he failed my long range stage. And we talked about it last time. I have the plate rack stage, and I know a guy who literally changed the way he trains because he failed my plate rack stage. Like, he's like, that sucked, and I'm never going to do that again. And he runs like a local 2-gun match up in Wisconsin or Minnesota or somewhere up north.
Right.
And he runs my plate rack stage like at his monthly 2-gun match, and he says it consistently eats everybody's lunch. So, and it is hard, right? You got to run a plate rack clean.
Yeah, I mean, and it should be challenging. That's what keeps these people coming back, right? I mean,
right? Yeah, and but the thing is like, you shouldn't struggle to run a plate rack clean. It's 6 targets. You got all the time in the world. You got 3 minutes to do it, right? Like,
why do you think people struggle with it? How far is this plate rack?
15 yards.
What's their deal? Why do they have a problem?
Because they get in a hurry.
Yeah.
It's a race, right? Like, the fastest time does win the stage. But if you miss, there's no way you can win.
Yeah, and they start slapping the shit out of that trigger.
Right, slapping the shit out of the trigger, jerking the palm in the thing. They get nervous. They overshoot a transition. They, anything like that.
When the next day, if you were to hand them a pistol and tell them just to go out and shoot the plate rack for fun, they'd probably clean it.
They clean it, right? Exactly. Yeah, you clean it. Like at Heartbreak, I was at Heartbreak back in February, and I was running a plate rack just for shits and giggles, and I went like 6 for 6 clean plate racks, right? Like, I ran 6 in a row, and I was like, that'll never happen on the clock. Never. Like, that beat goes off, and I might as well have hammers for hands. Like, it's
and that is why we train.
And that's why we train, right? Like, that's it right there. Yeah, and it's such a simple thing to train, but it incorporates so much because you have to have good sight picture, good sight alignment. If you got a dot, you need to be able to find the dot quickly. You got to transition from target to target. You got to slow down a little bit, take your time, make sure you're making good hits. Because I had a dude who missed a 3 years ago. He missed on his third one, and he shot the rest of the plate rack. And the RO was like, "You missed. You got to start over." I missed. Yeah. He was so laser focused that he didn't have any idea what was going on. Right.
Right.
But it's a cool event. We've got some big stuff planned for this year. I've already got some good sponsors coming on, and it's going to be a good time.
Have you started leaking any of the stations yet? The stages?
Yeah, stage 1 is already up on the Facebook page, and it's a jungle run type event, and I'm calling it Giant Bunnies and Flying Squirrels. So here's how it's going to go down, right? I've got poppers, auto poppers, and one partner is going to have a rifle, and there's going to be 4 auto poppers that he has to hit on this jungle run, right? Like they're going to advance through this field,
right,
and do this jungle run. And then Innovative Targets is one of my sponsors. They have what they call a tree hugger, and it's a base of steel that wraps around like a 14-inch tree and then bolts into the tree. And it's got you can put a popper on it or anything like that. Well, whenever I saw it, my first thought was, man, that'd be awesome for a pistol spinner. So he's putting the pistol spinners on these tree hugger bases, right? And it takes 2 hits timed correctly to spin these pistol spinners, like 5-inch, 4-inch tops, 5-inch bottoms, or 5 and 6. I forget what it is.
Sure.
So you're going to have to advance through this, and while your partner's clearing these poppers with this rifle, the pistol guy has to spin 4 of these smaller spinners. And it's gonna really blow some people's minds.
Sounds like it'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be great. And then I've got the plate rack stage coming back this year. Nobody's allowed to hide behind other good shooters. Like last year, only one shooter had to clear plate rack.
Right.
This year, I'm gonna have 2 plate racks out there, and if either teammate misses, both plate racks reset.
Oh man.
You
can't team. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a team, but you're forcing people to actually be able to perform. You can't just get one guy that's good at this and one guy that's good at that.
Right. Like you have to be,
all around.
Have to be a well-rounded team.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I expect to DNF that stage because the guy who's my partner, I love him to death. He's one of my best friends ever. He can't shoot a pistol for shit.
Sounds like you need to work with him a little.
Oh, I've tried. But it's funny. But also this year, I don't know if we've talked about it, and I just announced it a couple days ago. Our special division, right? Like, so I have 3 divisions. I've got open, which is everybody is in open, right?
Right.
Top winner wins open. Jack and Jill is any team with at least 1 female member.
Okay.
That's, and then I always have a special division. So last year it was lone survivor. So you ran the whole course with 1 guy.
Right.
This year it's unprepared. So you run the whole course as a team, but you only carry 1 rifle and 1 pistol between the 2 of you.
Oh, wow.
And if you get to a stage that requires 2 rifles, both teammates have 2 rifles, you use a stage gun.
Gotcha.
So there's some balancing act there, right? Because since you're only carrying 1 rifle and pistol, you should be moving significantly faster.
Well, you should be.
Yeah. An unprepared team should absolutely outrun anybody else.
Yeah, because half the gear.
Half the gear, right. But, on some stages, like my plate rack stage, my plan, depending on, if a company sends me a pistol to use, I'll use that. But right now, I've got 2 buddies who've got stock Gen 4 Glock 19s. That's going to be the plate rack stage gun. Everyone should be able to pick up a Gen 19 and run a plate rack.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, it might be miserable, but yeah, you could do it.
Right, but it's the most common handgun in America.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's just like everybody should be able to pick up a bolt action rifle and make a hit at 100 yards with a good scope on it, right? Like that's
right.
It's
the premise.
Right. And not all of them are going to be that. Like, my long range gun, I've got one of my long range guns out there. I got a couple other stages where I might throw something a little bit weird at you, because it's a stage gun. It's a battlefield pickup. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to be a good time, though.
You should have one of them. You should have one of them set up like one of your stage guns isn't a gun. It's like a wrist rocket or something.
That would be funny.
That would be fantastic. You'll have the little lead balls or marbles or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know how cool that would be.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I've thought about using like slingshots before, because a few years ago I had a tomahawk throw.
Yeah.
I've had knife throws. I've had melee combat, like where you had to bust water balloons with a tomahawk or a baseball bat or whatever.
Sweet.
But a slingshot's on the list for eventually, I think.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of marksmanship that goes into that.
Oh yeah, there is.
So it's like I said, it's gonna be a cool event. We're going back to Lucas Oil. I'm actually going out there next week, believe it or not. I'm on spring break, and I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Trying to cram everything into your days off.
Yeah, but I'm going out there. I'm taking the family with me. We're going to run around on Lucas Oil, kind of plot out the course and plan some stages and get some distances nailed down. And, it's going to be a good time.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, one of these years I'll make it out there. This year I'm trying to focus on my 100-miler, and I don't know, with the fuel prices the way they are, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I might not sell a single ticket because Lucas Oil is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I'm thinking about plotting my own race instead of driving to Oregon. So we'll see what happens.
You should just run to Oregon, like.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. But well, fantastic. I think that as we get closer, we should have you jump on again. I know you got to get back on the road and get home, but I think we should have you jump on again when you get closer after you get a lot more like stages revealed, that kind of thing, and get on here and talk about it again. I'm pretty excited. This might be the earliest I think I've had you on talking about it, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it is the earliest, and that's that's kind of another thing I tell people. Like they complain about the long, and it's always the long range. Like everybody focuses on the long range. I'm like, you realize I have 7 other stages that you can absolutely crush and forget about the long range, right? Like
that's what I would do.
Yeah, right. That's the way. That's the way to beat the long range, is be perfect at everything else.
Work on your short game.
Yep. But I'm like, guys, I'm giving you 8 or 9 months. Here, it's 900 yards and the target is gigantic. Like, go to the range and figure it out, right? Like,
right.
And with ballistic calculators now, like, you don't even have to go practice at long range. You can practice really good, solid fundamentals at short ranges and throw all your data into a ballistic calculator, and it'll tell you where to hold.
Nice. I'm not a long range guy. Besides shooting my deer, I don't know anything about long range. So it's fascinating
when where you live. Like, you live in some of the best long range country ever.
I know I do. I live in some of the best places to do a lot of things that I don't participate in.
Right. You're right.
But anyhow, I tell you what, let's get you back on when we get a little bit closer. Well, you're welcome on here anytime. I mean, you know that. We always have a good time when you call, but let's make sure we get you back on here to plug more zombie before, maybe in a few months when you get a little more stuff planned out. And if you like leaking stuff, you can leak it on the podcast. We're okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. And some guys, some stuff has come out on this episode that's not up on Facebook yet. So,
well, there you go. Sweet. You heard it here first, folks.
Right. That's and I always tell people, hey, listen, I've actually got a podcast I'm going to do next week. She's meeting me at Lucas Oil. The lady is driving through, and she happens to be stopping there for the night with Three Gun Kenzie. She does the Reticle Up podcast.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, while I'm there, if you want to run an episode, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So, and I tell people, I'm like, hey, if I tell you I'm going to do a podcast or I announced what I did was listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're gonna find some crap out.
It's like a treasure hunt, man. You're putting together the pieces. He's getting all this intel.
That's right. It's if you pay attention to what I do online, you should be really well prepared for zombie, because I talk about it all the time.
Well, fascinating. I do appreciate it. I'm not trying to cut it short, but my wife actually went out of town for the week, so I got to get inside. I've got a 8-year-old I need to feed.
I understand. Yeah, I need to get back on the road. Like I said, I stopped to get gas here, and I can get rolling and get back to my own wife and kids.
Okay, no problem. Then I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show, and you can either stick around and listen to the end. If you got to get going, that's cool. I understand that. Jump back on the road, but I appreciate you coming on, and we'll be in touch. You know where to find me.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tiger.
Yep.
Bye. Well, if you're listening to the podcast, I do appreciate it. Share it with all your family and friends. Like we've discussed before, that's the best way to help support the podcast. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on iTunes. You can comment. You can comment. You can just want to talk to me, critique, whatever you want to do. You can call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. Like I said, share the podcast, and if you want to, $5 a month, you can jump on Patreon and you get some videos, some how-to videos, that kind of stuff. I'm getting a little bit better at the whole Patreon thing. I've kind of been struggling with the platform. I'm trying to figure out if there's something else that I can do to improve that experience for you. But jump on there. We got a handful of people on there, and we have a good time. So I appreciate it, and I will talk to everybody next week. Talk to you later. Bye.